In the past 10 years, Airbnb has completely changed the hospitality industry. With over 500 million Airbnb stays all time, most of us have tried the platform by now. But what you may not have realized is how much money people are able to make on Airbnb without even owning any property themselves. I know it sounds kind of crazy, like how can you rent something out on Airbnb if you don't even own anything yourself? It's known as rental arbitrage, and it's something people have been doing since the beginning of Airbnb. So today we're gonna look into the world of Airbnb rental arbitrage, how people are doing this, and what this means for the future of cities. Okay, so you're probably wondering how this all works. In the most basic sense, you lease an apartment long-term, then rent it out short-term yourself for double or triple the price that you're paying.
With this business model, you're on average doubling the rent, tripling the rent. And therefore, I mean, these are they're very general numbers, but depending on where you're at, you can cash flow really well.
So the first step in doing this is signing a long-term lease with a landlord that will allow you to do this. So my first question was, is this even legal to do? Most landlords, understandably, don't want their home turned into an Airbnb. So this is the hardest part in getting it all set up. With a number of Airbnb horror stories out there, landlords are generally not excited about the idea of turning their home into an Airbnb. In terms of the legality of this, it's kind of a gray area. If you have permission from the landlord, technically it is legal. But in a lot of cities, it's banned or heavily restricted. So a lot of them that are operating actually are illegal, and we'll get into that more later. First, let's take a look at how people are actually doing this and how much they really are making. I've seen some wild claims on the internet of people making millions as Airbnb hosts. So I wanted to talk to someone who actually does this. This is Robert Jacob. He's a YouTuber with 8 Airbnb listings. So I sat down with him to learn more about what the process is actually like and how much you can really make from this. How many rejections was it before one of them finally agreed to it?
It was like 6. I believe after being told no 6 times very abruptly, like very harshly, I was still going after it, and I was like, I just gotta get through it. It was like a numbers game. I knew that if I would just keep persisting, that I would eventually find someone who is open to the idea.
So let's take a look at Robert's first listing and see how it performed. So this is the first listing?
Yes, this is the property that I miraculously landed a lease agreement with when I first started with no experience. And this is the one I was talking about when I was telling you that the photos were, the furnishings were very basic.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. I mean, there's very minimal effort going into these.
I wondered if people actually rented these apartments enough to make a profit, or if they were really only getting a couple of bookings a month. With the first listing, how was the demand of it? Because I feel like that would be kind of scary at first. Like, is anyone gonna book it?
This was a big concern I had, in the back of my mind. When I listed the place, I got 3 bookings within an hour.
Taking a look at Robert's first listing, the rent was $800 per month and about $150 per month for utilities.
And our average cost per night to rent this place and operate it is $32. So that's our out-of-pocket cost every single night that we're in this property is $32, including all expenses.
So if it's booked every night of the month at this price, it will make $1,800 minus the $950 for rent and utilities, and you're left with an $850 profit.
Okay, so for that property, the rent was $800, and you can see we generated $1,800 in January, which is a really slow month for us.
But not every month gets completely filled with bookings.
This property has come down to $100, $200 a month profit depending on the month.
So it does fluctuate depending on the time of year. So let's take a look at the yearly breakdown to get a better idea of the actual earnings. Robert spent $2,500 on furniture, and he had to put down a month of rent for the deposit.
So the first year, the costs were roughly $14,000, and the property generated $20,000. Around that ballpark, yeah. And that was just me without any experience regarding Airbnb or real estate in general.
So $1,000 or $2,000 a month of profit, that's pretty good. But you couldn't live off of it, and it's certainly not going to make you a millionaire. Where this gets really interesting is when people are setting up multiple listings. These days, there are people that have hundreds of Airbnb listings. With multiple listings, that's where people really start to make a lot of money doing this.
With one, it's something that it's supplemental income. I like to think of it as just additional household income that you can make for minimal effort. And that's really the nature of this business. But to completely sustain yourself off of it, you need, like, I would say the comfortable number is like 5 to 6 listings. At 5 to 6, depending on the market, you're gonna be bringing in like a 6-figure income. I'm gonna go correct that really quick. You're gonna be hitting 6 figures in revenue. Obviously the gross and net profits are, you know, they're different.
So Robert has 8 total listings, bringing in $160,000 of revenue, leaving him with about $80,000 in profit for the year. Okay, I know we haven't even gotten close to the $1 million, probably in the title of this video, so let me explain with some basic math. So basically, each of Robert's Airbnbs made $10,000 per year. So let's say you have 10 listings, you're at $100,000 per year. 100 listings, $1 million. Very, very basic math here, I know. And people have actually done this. Not a ton of people, but there are people that are making $1 million a year from Airbnb and they don't own any of them. They just lease them. I just still think that's crazy. So obviously this is a pretty simplified version of how the calculation works. I'm sure as you scale to 100 listings, there's a lot more you have to hire out because one person can't possibly manage all of that. But for the sake of this being a video for entertainment and not a tutorial on how to start an Airbnb business, we're just going with a broad overview. Anyone could really do this, but should you do it? So in a lot of major cities, this isn't just frowned upon, it's actually being restricted more and more, and even fully banned in cities like New York. You see, in major cities, there's a limited amount of housing for rent, and transforming these available rentals into Airbnbs decreases the supply for people that actually want to live here. This is why cities with really high rent, like Los Angeles for example, have been cracking down on Airbnb laws recently. So in LA, for example, you're only allowed to have 1 listing. It has to be your primary residence, and you're only allowed to rent it out for 120 days of the year. And you have to register it for $89 a year. And yet, if you look on Airbnb, we can see people are still doing this in LA. So I found one of these listings that I'm pretty sure isn't legal, and I rented it to go check it out and see what it was really like, because a lot of these just seem like they're thrown together very cheaply and rented out at the bare minimum just to make a profit. So I could be wrong. Let's go check it out. Okay, I just got to the Airbnb. I will say the check-in instructions are kind of weird. So if we look on here, it says that that's the leasing office, and they're telling me to not go in the leasing office because I guess the leasing office gets annoyed of it. So there should be a lockbox. Oh, there's a couple. So I guess they probably have a couple units. So there's a lockbox over here. So it seemed like they were trying to keep this Airbnb very low key and kind of hidden by the fact that they had a lockbox on a railing like this. Oh my gosh. I feel weird doing this. Like, I feel like the leasing office is gonna see me and be like, what are you doing? Okay, I got it. That was way harder than it should have been. Okay, we're in. Okay, here we are. Home sweet Airbnb. Okay. Weird. It's weird. Okay, this is it. It's pretty dark. Okay, so this is a 1-bedroom apartment, but they've kind of made the living room into a bedroom so that more people can stay here. So it's kind of weird, but I feel like if you're staying at an Airbnb, you wouldn't really care. And then here's the actual bedroom. I will say this apartment smells kind of weird. It's not pleasant. It feels very bare bones, like they just went to IKEA or maybe just got a bunch of stuff on OfferUp and we're like, let's just throw it in here. And then there's 1 bathroom over here. Pretty standard apartment bathroom, I feel like. This Airbnb did feel really cheap. All the furniture was mismatched. The walls really didn't seem that clean. You can't tell as much in the video. It was pretty dusty in here too. And one of the outlets was pretty badly messed up, actually. One kind of weird thing I noticed about this place is they had this soap that the color didn't match what the color of the soap is online. So I'm pretty sure it's just like a dish soap, like really, really cheap soap replaced into it to save like $1.
If we want to look in here a little bit, we can see that
That's what I thought.
It's put on like a carbon monoxide detector or something. There's not even a proper nail or anything in the wall there. And there's kind of like dirty walls everywhere. I mean, they should probably come through and
see the walls are like marked up a lot.
One of the things that I've really picked up on is people just need a great place to lay their heads at night, and a quality pillow will go a long way. Yeah, like this is what you remember is how you rested your head and how you like laid down and go to sleep.
What do you think of this room?
So in this room, this is bare minimum. They didn't even put a TV stand or a TV in here or any kind of drawer. You just have end tables. That could be potential electric hazard right there. Electrical issues. Yeah, and once again, the towels are very cheap. I mean, I have much more plush towels than this.
If you were to guess how much they spent furnishing this, what do you think?
Ooh, maybe 2,000 tops.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd probably underneath that too.
So even though this Airbnb is clearly bare minimum with the effort, they still have a ton of bookings. So it looks like this listing is generally very booked up, so it's clearly a pretty successful listing. So from what I found, it looks like this apartment is probably $2,500 a month, and they're renting it for $136 a night, up to about $173 on other nights. So even if they're renting it at their lowest price, $136 a night, they can still get about $4,000 in revenue for the month. They're still profiting over $1,000 most likely. One thing I don't think a lot of people who rent these out think about is how it changes the neighborhood. And I actually would know because I live right next door to someone who's doing this. And let me tell you, it is not only annoying, but kind of sketchy. I noticed about a year ago that my neighbors just always had different people going in and out, and I suspected that they were subleasing it. I wasn't really sure until my other neighbors had someone knock on the door asking if it was the bungalow. That's how we knew for sure that this was rental arbitrage. It felt weird. I mean, when someone's knocking on your door asking if this is their Airbnb, and you're like, this is my house, it's very, very weird. We also had one of their lovely guests pee in our recycling bin outside of our house. And just some of them have been sketchy characters, although they have gotten better at it because we've obviously complained to our landlord about it. So my experience with it has not been great. I don't think this is a bad thing in every scenario. I just think that in major cities where we have a housing crisis, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to do this. But in places like Missouri, where Robert has his Airbnbs, maybe it does make sense. And when you think about it, it's kind of cool that people can have their own small businesses rather than just a few hotel chains owning like everything. If you guys have any experiences with this whole rental arbitrage thing or Airbnbs, comment down below because the whole thing I just think is fascinating and I feel like I don't even know everything there is to know about it. So comment down below what you think of this whole thing because I'll definitely be reading the comments of this video. If you like this video, go check out the one I made about Amazon FBA because it's very similar kind of vibe. And if you know of any other kind of weird ways that people are making money online that I should expose, comment that down below too. Okay, that is it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.